Hello there! It's time for Spirits
and Cousins.
I'm Tish.
And I'm Courtney.
And today is episode 3. And this episode is called the Stockyard Exchange Investigation.
Ooh.
Some pretty exciting stuff. But first, it's that time. You all probably want to know what spirit we're drinking. This week, it's Milliman Green. It's a bourbon out of Kentucky, and it's actually these two women that wanted to start their own distillery. So they started it, and I'm always weary of trying these kind of boutique novelty distilleries.
Yeah.
But the guy at the bourbon shop said, oh, no, this is a really good one. You have to try it. So we're having this tonight. And I will tell you that it is very nice, very smooth, got a little bit of smoke on the end. What do you think?
I really enjoy it. It goes down smooth.
It has kind of a caramely.
Tasty.
Yeah, it's got a lighter color.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was drinking, if this was wine, I would tell you that it has legs. Because it does have legs around this glass. And we're drinking it neat tonight.
We are.
So that is the spirit we're drinking. And now we're going to kick off with a few things before we get into the Stockyard Exchange investigation. The first thing we're going to talk about is the shows we've watched lately. Now, Courtney, you've been telling me that you've been busy this week and had a lot on your plate and haven't had a chance to watch a whole lot.
No, work's been kicking my ass.
Well, I have one thing I want to put out there that I started watching last weekend, and that is the new season of Kindred Sprits, which I know is one of your favorites.
I really enjoy Kindred Sprits. I love how they go through the history and really just dig deep into what's going on in the area and the history of the place that they're investigating, and they just talk to a lot of people, and I think that's really important.
And in the past, like, it hasn't been it's not dramatic like Ghost Adventures.
No.
Where everything's like, oh my God, did you hear that? Did you hear that? So I kicked off and started watching the new season. It just started Saturday night, couldn't sleep. I'm like, yeah, I'll take a look at this. So I watched the first 2 episodes. One was called Broken Spirits. That's episode 1. And the second one was The Angry Ghost, which was the second one. And it's the 3 folks in it are Amy, Adam, and Chip. Chip is the medium.
He's the medium psychic, yeah.
He's been on a lot of shows, hasn't he?
He has been. He's pretty consistently on with them, though, and I like that.
Yeah, and he seems to do it remotely all the time.
Which is interesting to me. It's very possible to sense spirits and what's going on remotely. But I wonder how easy that is.
I don't know. I do know that you did it for me, so I know it works.
I mean, true.
So I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial because I was really surprised by it. But I feel like they've kind of gone Hollywood a bit. And what I mean by that is that it was much more dramatic when they were talking about, the investigation and what they were hearing. It was just much more amplified than in previous seasons. And I had said to Courtney, do you think like they've given in to the reality show piece of it, or because it's like getting to be a little more dramatic, like Ghost Adventures?
I think it's possible. If you got to wonder if their viewership is dipping or things like that, or if they just are trying to do their investigations in a different way.
Yeah, I mean the thing with the eye cover and she's talking to
the sensory deprivation.
That's right, and he's just saying words. I noticed it in this new season. It's like he's angrier when he does it, and he's just more amplified overall. So anyway, I'm not going to give away the plot to all these episodes, but the thing that I do like about Kindred Sprits, and Courtney, you've always said this, compared to some of the other shows, it is less sensational and more thoughtful.
Yes.
And they're not trying to provoke the spirit, the energy, the ghost or whatever. They're trying to figure out how to create harmony with it. If it's something bad, they do try to get rid of it. However, in most cases, they're not provoking it and getting it irritated. They're trying to work with it too.
Exactly. And that's what I like too. It just is a more compassionate way of dealing with and working with spirits and entities and seeing what's actually going on instead of provoking it. I don't think provoking is necessary, and I think it is really important to be compassionate and to try and understand what's going on instead of making huge assumptions and making spirits mad.
I could see that. I would be afraid to make a spirit mad. I know that most are not there to hurt anyone, but I still don't want to be followed around and bullied. I'm bullied by a spirit. So anyway, it'd be interesting. I encourage you all, for those of you out there that watch some of these shows, I encourage you to watch the new season of Kindred Spirits and let us know what you think. So this is kind of a good segue, because when we talk about kind of what they're doing with episodes like this and series like Kindred Spirits, a lot of it is about how they feel and communicate the energy to viewers. Mm-hmm. And you and I were talking about, how do we each feel energy? What does that feel like? And it's really important because some of us are much more involved in what we can do with that energy. And sometimes, like in my case, I don't even know I'm feeling any energy. But I know that you wanted to kind of chat for a few minutes about how do we feel. How does each of us feel energy? And so I'm going to kick it over to you to talk more about that.
Well, and it is definitely a spectrum. I believe that most of us have this capability of feeling energy, of feeling spirits, entities, all of those things. It just depends on where your soul is at. And so I can feel elevated energy, meaning like anger, sadness, very upset, frustration. I can feel that. And to me, how it feels like something is weighting down my chest. It just feels like there's a lot of pressure. I also feel it on my shoulders, as though someone has their hands on my shoulders and is pushing me down. So that tends to mean there's some kind of elevated energy, especially more of, like I said, that anger and sadness. Excitement, I haven't felt a lot of excitement from spirits, but I do believe that when spirits do funny things like opening cabinet doors or turning on and off music, to me, that is more of an excited spirit, because they just want attention. They want you to know, they're trying to say, hey, I'm here. I want you to sense me. I want you to know I'm here. And so to me, that's more of that excited energy. I can also sometimes feel that around my head, and it just kind of feels a little bubbly.
Wow. That's a lot more evolved than mine. I don't feel any of that. I feel sometimes.
So you do feel some things.
I feel something, like once in a while I'll be in a room and I can feel something, but I never feel pressure. I never feel something touching me. I never feel cold or warm. I just have this sense or feeling. That's the only way I can explain it. And it's probably because I haven't really developed it. But sometimes my intuition just tells me. Mm-hmm. I don't feel any more than that, though. Like, you feel physical.
Yes.
Like,
and it's often different, because what you're getting is a knowing. You're getting this knowing that you're not really sure where it comes from, but you know this. Like, for example, when we were in Oregon and you were like, we need to go outside. Hey, Courtney, we need to go outside. We need to do an investigation outside. And you had just this knowing.
I didn't know why. Yeah, we were visiting one of my dearest friends, and I took Courtney with me for a few reasons. One is they're right on a river in the forest. And
I love me some rivers and forests.
Oh, yeah. And my friends are interested in this. And I know that Courtney, you really like to feel different energies in nature. Mm-hmm. So we go there and, everyone's trying to stir up a spirit and stir up, the nights we were there, trying to find some way to communicate. And it just felt so dead in the house. And I just kept looking outside. And I finally said, I think it was the last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
And I said, you know what? I think we really should go outside. And when we went outside, what happened?
Well, it was funny because you weren't even down with us. Kathy and I were like, we're just going to go down. Tish will come down when she's ready.
It's true. I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, I'm so sick of this shit. Like, you guys go do it. We've been trying to do it for like an hour. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and watch the Golf Channel for a little bit or something. Yeah.
So Kathy, we just got down to it. We just sat outside and immediately started working with our flashlights and started getting some really neat responses. And if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see one of the videos there. And I'll be posting another one this weekend of what happened. And it was really cool. And all of a sudden I was like trying to text Tish, get downstairs.
And you ran in.
And I finally was like running inside, come on down here.
And I'm running down the stairs. And this is kind of a thing where it's not as much a story as it is a bunch of experiences throughout the night, which is why we probably won't tell it as a story. But you said that you're going to share it on Instagram and maybe Facebook as we go throughout the season.
Yeah.
Just to show people that this stuff is real. I mean, it was crazy. It was like having a conversation, live conversation.
With two different beings. We had the earth elemental and we had the our friend's uncle.
Yeah, uncle and her father. And so this is like a good example of how all of us feel energy differently. And for those of us that are more experienced and have nurtured this ability over years, you feel it and can feel it a lot more and a lot differently than someone like me, where I just have like intuition, as you said. So it's an interesting thing to think about. And I think we would encourage all of you out there that are listening to this, think about, how do you feel energy when you walk into a room, or if you've ever walked into a building or a room that doesn't quite feel right or feels just different, or sometimes you feel like there's just a thickness in the air. How does that feel?
Someone's watching you.
Yeah. I always feel like
somebody's watching me.
So, that's right. And on our next episode, we're going to do some karaoke. So that was Oregon, and it's about how we feel energy. This episode is really about one of many of the investigations that Courtney did. So let me give you the framework of this and the setting. It was how many years ago about?
Oh boy. At least I would think probably 12 years ago.
Okay, let's just go with that. 12 years ago. St. Paul, Twin Cities area, and the building was the Stockyard Exchange investigation. I'm going to do a little bit of the setup for you, and then you can jump into it. But you and a group of others that were interested in paranormal, you actually rented out the building on Halloween.
On Halloween, the night that there's like minimal to no veil between the dimensions and spirit world.
It's so crazy. So you rented the place out for the evening. Some of you stayed the night. Some of you didn't. You ended up staying the night.
I was not supposed to, but I got very, very lucky that someone didn't want to stay and offered me their spot.
It just sounds creepy. I'd be afraid. I'd sit out in the car and text. But again, there was about 20 of you.
Around there, yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that when you stayed the night, you got your own room.
Yes.
Which is even creepier. I don't know if I could be in a building like that. It's pretty much abandoned, right?
No. It's an event center.
Oh.
I mean, at least it was before I moved.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is right now.
Okay. So the Stockyard Exchange, this is the Stockyard Exchange investigation. First big one, 20 others, spent the night on Halloween. I'm going to say this up front because when we talk about this, you always get creeped out. You don't want to talk about it. And
it is hard to talk about, yes.
So we're doing this on episode 3 because we really want to share something that was pretty interesting and unique, and you haven't come across something so strong since.
No, it was definitely significant piece of my paranormal history that was very impactful. And it helped me really realize how I need to do things different. And that when you're naive and don't understand what you're doing, that you got to be really careful.
And so what Courtney is going to share, the lesson of today's story is going to be the absolute need to set intention and not just go in like a free-for-all, which is something you do early on before you're...
For sure. I was like, I can do this. No worries. This is not a problem.
That's right. So
I got skills.
That's right. Little did she know that afterwards she was going to have to develop other skills because she didn't set intention. So
Yep.
I think let's start with, like, take us through, how did the evening start? Did you all go there together? You show up in different cars, you park, you go in? Like, what's the setup?
I knew most of the people going there, and they had been people I'd hung out with, done energy work with, done oracle and tarot cards with. We've spent time learning things together in regards to energy and intuition and paranormal. And so we all went in there. We were all having fun, wandering around. I had a couple friends that I would hang out with or meet up with. And it was a fun evening. It was really exciting. And the first thing that I noticed and that we had all talked about was there's a school marm, which is a woman who was, a marm would be more like a teacher. And what she would do is she would stand on the second floor of the open area, so not with the rooms yet, the hotel rooms, but stand on that floor and just watch everyone over these balconies and these open spots with railings. She just would stand there and watch over everyone, being very judgy, making sure everyone was being appropriate and doing all the right things. And she just protects and watches everything, watches over everything.
Did you see her, or were you talking to her in your mind, or?
I could sense her. I could sense her watching. She didn't really seem to want to talk much, and so I didn't push that.
Were there others with you that felt the same thing?
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is a fairly well-known woman.
Were all the people that you were with, were they all, is the right word, empaths? Were they all aware, and did they know how to process energy like I wouldn't have?
Empath is kind of appropriate and kind of not. It's more of the sensing energy, and it's we'll have to talk about the clairs in a different episode. And the clairs are how people get information.
Okay.
And so yes, other people noticed her. Some other people may have talked with her, but we all knew that she's there. And in years after this, I actually went back to that building several times because we would have energy healing expos there. And so I would go there still, even after this experience. And I could often sense her presence.
Was she there the whole time you were there? Or would you have to be hanging out in that open area where she was kind of, I picture her as kind of being above where it's open?
Yes.
Was she always there when you were there, or would she come and go? I'm just curious. Not that you were always standing in the same place, but whenever you came back in the room, was she?
She typically was there, but only in this area. I don't know. She may have roamed in other areas of the building, but from what I could sense, I think she stayed watching the main open areas.
And what did you bring with you? Did you bring any tools, technology with you?
No.
Nothing.
I had nothing. Nothing but I may have brought a pendulum. I don't really remember. I don't believe I brought any other tools. I may have had access to an EMF meter and perhaps dowsing rods. Mm-hmm. So that, but this was a while ago.
Did others bring any technology?
I believe so.
Or any tools?
Yeah, because some of our friend group who were there were also part of this Real Ghost tours that we would all do together.
Gotcha. So you show up, you all are sensing this school marm. I guess it's conceivable that she wouldn't always be there. So it was kind of cool that pretty quickly she was part of the experience.
Yes.
After you got there.
Yes.
So after you entered and you felt that, what did you do next? Where did you go next? And you said this is an expo center. So now I understand it's not abandoned. It's probably got furniture and
yes, there's rooms of tables.
Okay.
I think there used to be a restaurant in there. Okay. And then all of the upstairs are rooms, like hotel rooms.
Okay. So you leave that entry front area, lobby-ish kind of area. That's what I'm thinking. And where do you go next?
I wandered around. I wanted to get the lay of the land, to feel it all. And I just remember I was so excited. I mean, Halloween night and doing this really cool investigation. It was
Were you dressed up or did you just wear normal clothes?
I just wore normal clothes.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I just wore normal clothes, I believe.
Okay.
And that was a while ago. And so I just wandered around. I would engage with some of my friends, and sometimes we would go apart and do our own thing. And I remember also feeling really apprehensive because other than the real ghost tours, this was one of my very, very first investigations. It was my first, especially really intense one. And so I wandered around and I had used the bathroom. I go in the bathroom and it's a huge bathroom and it is beautiful. And there is a young woman's spirit there.
You saw her?
I could see her through my third eye. So I didn't physically see her, but I could sense that her energy was there and she really wanted to talk. She kept bringing her hands and I could just sense she really wanted to try and talk and I needed somebody.
Was anyone else? You were in there by yourself?
I was in there by myself, but I had talked with another person had come in and out of there with me, and she also sensed that there too.
Wow. And this was a young woman?
A young girl, not really young, but I would say
younger than a school mom.
Maybe, yes. I would say maybe 18 to 25-ish.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. So we would have this conversation and she was telling me that she was scared. And she just kept talking about how there's things here. There's things there and she was scared. And I tried to get more information and she just was and then all of a sudden she had to go. She couldn't talk anymore. Someone had found her and they knew she was telling people things. So she quickly went away. I left the bathroom and I would go in there once in a while to see if I could talk with her again or get a glimpse of her again to find out more of what was going on. The gist of it was there was some entity there that was keeping children's souls.
Is that what she said?
Yes.
What does that mean?
And so from what I was understanding from her, it's there's an area of the building that was just had these children's souls in there and they had jobs to do. And I didn't understand what those jobs meant. Mm-hmm. And so here I am, this is my first major investigation outside of what I'd already been doing. I had enough experience, but I still didn't have enough experience. And so I was like, oh, no worries. I got this. I can do this. I can work. I know how to release their souls. I know exactly how to do that. I know how to deal with beings that are earthbound. I can open up the heavens and I can help heal them and usher them through and get them away from this entity. So I started doing that.
How'd you do that?
I have this ritual I do where I'm just able to sense them and talk with them. And then I just will ask them if they would like to go. And then I just make a circle and I open up the heavens. Wow. It is a really neat thing to be able to do. I don't fully understand how it works.
Did any of the souls leave?
Yes, they did. They started they were going quickly through. And then so I was like, oh, great. This is wonderful. I'm doing great things. I'm helping these children's souls. And then all of a sudden, I hear growls.
What?
Yes, I heard them with my ears. And then I had a friend with me who was doing EVPs, and she got growls on her EVPs. And this is when I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Okay, I have to ask. Only because it's not that apparent. But did you set intentions?
No.
Yeah.
I did not set intentions. I thought I had enough skills. I thought I had enough experience.
That you could manage the situation.
And I could handle it.
Yeah.
I had these newfound skills that I was very eager to practice, and I did not set intentions. And so I heard these growls, and I was like, and I didn't know what to do. And so I talked with some of my friends who were there, and I just said...
So you left the room and went and talked to them?
Yeah.
So the growls came through, but you didn't address it when you were there. You left the room. Did you come back?
Waited for a little bit and still tried to usher the children's souls through, because that was very important to me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept hearing these growls, and I got a more uneasy feeling, that pressure in my chest, the pressure on my shoulders, and I just thought, holy shit, this is more than I can do, I think. Do
you feel a sense of, does it drain you? Does it start to, can you feel that it's pulling energy? Like, I know there are different ways that this stuff comes through. Sometimes it's just pressure. Sometimes it's cold, right? Does it ever feel like something's trying to pull the energy out of you?
Not usually.
Okay.
The other thing that you have to be careful of, and this is also, I think, what helped to not literally save me, but help me in the situation, is you can't have fear. If you have fear, then these things eat off of that fear, and it breeds them, and it allows them to grow bigger and bigger. And so that was the great thing I had on my side, is that I didn't have fear. I would be afraid. When I heard that growling.
Did that scare you?
That was scary.
I would have ran my ass outside. I would have been running outside.
Again, I knew that I couldn't feel fearful. I knew that I had to work through it. So I'd take a couple of breaths, talk to my friends.
And then what? Then what did you do?
So then I was like, okay, I need to stop this for now, because I don't fully know what I'm doing. I need to think about this and figure this out some more. So I stopped working on it, and I promised to that young woman's spirit that I saw, that I would work on this and figure it out, see what I could do. So then I went along my night. I did different things. I went into one of those beautiful turrets that were there, and that was really interesting. I love turrets. They just have this really cozy feel to them, this book nook area that you can just hide away in. And so I love those things. And I went in there, and all I felt was this big pressure on my chest. And to me, pressure on my chest, again, is something is angry, something is very upset, something is very sad, things like that.
Well, plus in a turret, I guess you could feel like something has you cornered.
Yes. So normally I love those things. And here I am walking to this turret and seeing these items that are left there. And
what was left there?
I believe there was a book in there.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and some little piece, not little like, not like dollhouse, but some, smallish furniture for people to sit in, or you could sit on the floor. And so I sat on the floor in there for a little bit, and just, that was about enough of it.
What
so
time was that?
Move on.
So wait, what time did you all get there?
I believe we got there around 7 or 8 p.m.
And what time were you in that turret, do you think? I guess what I'm asking is, where were you during that witching hour? What is that, like 1 to 3 or something?
Yeah, 1
to
3. During the witching hour, I was in the rooms. I was hopping from bed to bed, from room to room, just to feel the different energies that were happening in that building.
So they had beds set up in there?
Yes.
Even though it's an expo center, but they set it up for the Halloween night, right?
No, so I believe it's 4 or 5 floors tall. And so the first 2 levels are wide open spaces. Like there was a bar there.
Like the Dixie Chicks?
Yeah. Yes. Like that. The main floor had several different big rooms. There's an interesting bar right in the middle, and then second floor was another open space like that, and then third and fourth and perhaps fifth floors. I think the fifth floor is the turrets, but third and fourth floors were all rooms. So
you were on your own. Did you probably met up with some of your friends along? So you're going through these rooms throughout the night. There had to be some other spirits and things you encountered.
Oh, for sure. So in one of the rooms, I remember there's a red bedspread. And it wasn't like a scary room, but I was just laying there and I was like, okay, I'm a little nervous being by myself, not sure what else is going to go on or what's going to happen, especially after hearing those growls and working all that stuff. Just lay in the bed, and I was really anxious. I didn't want to pull the covers on me or anything, just in case I needed to get out of there.
This is like 12 years ago. So today you would have been in there with an EMF meter, probably a spirit box,
for sure,
dowsing rods. But this is back when all this stuff was just becoming...
It was there, but it was really expensive at that point. So if you could buy an EMF meter, you were very lucky. Well,
you certainly don't need a spirit box to hear a growl.
You do not. So I was laying in that bed, and all of a sudden I remember being on the left side of the bed, and all of a sudden I felt an impression on the right side of the bed.
Oh my God.
Right? And I was like, oh, hello there. And I just said, hi, I don't know who you are, but you're not welcome to lay down here.
You didn't get a growl, did you?
No, I did not get a growl.
Oh, no. My goodness.
And so I was a little freaked out by that one. Yeah. And the spirit did move. I wasn't able to figure out who that was. But the energy didn't feel bad. I didn't have that tightness in my chest feeling or the pressure on my shoulders. So it wasn't
like you had the turret.
Exactly. It wasn't people might say negative energy. And when people say that, they usually mean that feelings of anger, those emotions. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel any of that.
You felt that in the bathroom with the growl.
Yes. Yes. So
you must have slept a few hours or no?
I think I did, not much though, because you're on alert. Yeah. Especially after you've heard those growls, you're on alert. And I was even debating, should I stay? Am I safe here?
Really?
But I am a fairly firm believer that as long as I don't have that much fear or minimal to no fear, things aren't going to hurt me. And I think that is what has really helped me a lot in experiences like this. So a couple cool things happened though that night. I remember I was walking up and down the main staircase that went from first floor to second floor to third floor. And there's this little bar area. And I remember walking up the stairs and then looking down. And I had a feeling that someone was watching me. And so I took a picture because I'm a medium photographer. I get crazy things on my photos. I take this picture and all of a sudden I look, holy shit. And I'm calling my friends over, like very loudly because I'm loud. Spirit penis was in the photos.
What?
Yes. I have that photo to this day of it. It's at approximately waist level, right where the railings were. It was, yes.
Is there something around it?
No.
That's weird.
Right? It is so weird. So that was really fun. It was a really fun and interesting encounter.
So everyone else saw that too.
Well, they saw my picture.
Yeah, I saw your picture.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what else it could be.
I don't know. It's pretty. I picture it looking like an ultrasound on a kid, but I don't know. You have to show me that. I haven't seen that picture.
I will definitely show you.
So you all are nothing really throughout the night except for the growl. Did you feel was threatening or negative?
No, but I did sense there were other things that had been happening there. I'd sensed there were rituals that had been happening. Not currently, but I think a while ago. I believe that part of this building was used for the Freemasons.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Well, when you were telling me about it, and when you said, it's the Stockyard Exchange building, I was going to ask you, you're probably going to think I'm stupid. I was going to ask you, did you come across any cows or livestock?
I did not, but that's a great question because that area was used for, I mean, that's what the building wasn't used for animals, but that building was used for exchanging of that.
Yeah, they bought and sell livestock there.
Yes.
So a question I have is, did you ever make it back to the bathroom to have another conversation with the young woman?
I did towards the end of my time there. And I felt awful that I couldn't accomplish what I had hoped to accomplish, which was setting all these souls free. But I needed to stop and slow down and figure out ways of doing that were not going to ignite something worse happening to the souls or to anyone who enters that building. And so I had to be very careful. And so I talked with her and I just said, I'll work on figuring it out.
And so do you stay there till it's daylight?
Yes. Yep.
Do they serve you breakfast?
No.
Oh, so you stay till daylight and then you leave. Mm-hmm. Okay, I have to ask you. So you get ready to leave, and how do you feel when you leave the building? Everything feels fine. You feel like
felt fine.
You left everything behind. Mm-hmm. But as I mentioned earlier, I know a little bit more about this, and you commented the importance of setting intention. You're always saying that. Yes. You did not set intentions when you went into this building. I did not. So the scary part for all of you listening is what happened next. And as a matter of fact, I really had to talk Courtney into telling this story because she was concerned that whatever kind of followed her, whatever came after her after she left, would come back again. Yes. So I'm going to turn this part over to you, but you leave, and then what happens next? You go home, and
so I leave. I go home. Don't think of anything. I didn't notice anything. I didn't feel anything different. And then a night or 2 nights later, I felt like something was watching me, and at that point in my life, I hadn't figured out like a protective system for myself. And
did you cleanse yourself when you left? I noticed that, before when you stop something, whether it's a session or whatever, you always wind it down and set it free. Did you do any of that before you left?
Oh, okay. Because I didn't know about that.
Okay.
No one had really taught me how to do that, and I didn't know. Anything I'd read or looked at didn't tell me any of that. So I just felt something watching me, and I was trying to figure it out and sense it. And then I was like, I'll do an EVP session. So an EVP is getting electronic voice phenomenon. And so I turned on my recorder and I was like, hey, is something here with me? What's going on? I'd like to talk with you. And I got
at your place?
At my place. And it was at that moment that I realized that it had followed me home.
Did you feel it in the car? No.
No. But this is now why I have so many intentions and ending rituals, like winding down rituals.
Yeah, and for all you listening out there, whenever I'm present when Courtney is doing a session, I swear she spends almost as much time setting intentions and then, closing up the intentions at the end before things are done. And this is why?
Yeah, this is why.
Okay, so you're home for a few days.
Yep.
You start to feel a presence, so you're like, I'm going to see if there's something around.
Hear the growling, and the EVP continue to feel something watching me. It didn't feel like I wasn't feeling I was being harmed at all, but it just felt like something was watching me. And that alone...
That's creepy.
Because that's you're like, what's going to happen? Something is watching me. What's going to happen?
You're so fearless, though. If that were me, I'd be like, I would be running outside.
Oh, at this point, I was ready to shit my pants.
Oh.
I mean, I didn't know what to do. I had stirred up something that I was not ready to deal with and finish out.
Did it go beyond just feeling this energy and growling?
It did not. So what I did is I did some research. So I'm a little witchy. And I did research on what I could do because at that point I also lived in a building where I was the caregiver of the building itself. And so I was also concerned about the tenants in the building and their vulnerabilities. And so...
This is a building where you kind of managed it and supported it, and it was people with disabilities, right? Okay. Because when you say the caregiver, it sounds like you were running like a hospital or something.
I'm more of a caretaker.
Okay.
Caretaker. And so I was trying to figure it out energetically. I was feeling stuck with how to move it on. And so what I ended up doing is doing some research into more witch practices. I had done some Wiccan things in the start of my journey. And so I pulled on that. And I ended up putting in a 5-gallon bucket. I filled it with boiling water.
Yeah.
And I added some sea salt to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also added a chunk of tourmaline to it. And
that's a rock?
Yes, and a selenite rock. So I added all that to the water, swirled it around, stirred it up, and I ladled it around the entire... I literally took a soup ladle and ladled it around the entire building.
Is that kind of like a priest when he's swinging the incense?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. And the whole way I just said, only love and light is allowed. Only love and light is allowed. Only love and light is allowed. And I did that.
And how long after the initial kind of feeling of the growl and the energy did you figure all this out? How long were you living with it?
I have to say, I was not like freaked out, but I was a little scared.
How about like when you were sleeping at night? Did you feel it?
No, not when I was sleeping. Okay. But what I was feeling, I probably overdid it, but at the same time, I wanted us all to make sure we were safe. And so the other thing that I did is energetically, I put a pyramid around the building that we lived in and asked just for protection.
So how long?
From all things that we needed to be protected from. So
how long between when you experienced the energy and the growl to when you did this? Is it like a week?
About a week.
About a week. And then what happened after you did that?
And then I would do EVPs just to see if I could hear more growls. I heard no more growls. But in between that week, I was also getting... In between that week where I was doing all these different things and figuring out what to do, I was also having some short conversations with this entity because I needed to figure out how to get rid of it.
Right.
And so I was trying to open up enough, but not open up too much. Right. And so I was having conversations like, okay, so how do we resolve this? How do we resolve this so that way we're both getting our needs met, I guess. And he was like, basically, stop it. Don't send those souls through anymore. And I was like, well, I can't do that. And he was like, no, you need to. And so some of the compromise was, which is why I only have the one photo of that night, is getting rid of my photos. And it was leaving the rest alone.
Why didn't he, it's a he, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Why didn't he want you to let more souls through?
Because it was his thing.
Oh, it was his prisoners. It was
his thing.
Ah.
And I was disrupted. And it was a much bigger thing.
And it was children's souls.
Yes.
Pedophile.
But what I ended up...
Pedophile and a penis picture.
Right? The penis picture was different, not this entity. But a couple of years later, or a year or so later, I think it was, I knew more. And I ended up, like you said, I was able to work on the spirit that you had in your house from afar. I just stayed in my place and I worked on it from home. So I did end up releasing.
Wow.
I just didn't tell everyone about it because I didn't want all of it to just come up again, you know?
You didn't want people to think you're a crazy cat woman.
Or that.
Crazy witchy woman. So this is really a great learning experience for you, and you've referred to it several times. So I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about what you didn't do and what you learned from this.
So I did not set intentions, and I did not make sure that nothing was following me on my way home. And so those are the main things that I do every single time when I want to talk to spirit or when I enter the possibility of investigation, is I make sure I set the intention of what I want to happen. And then when I leave, I'm removing whatever is with me. And I usually say what's mine is mine, what's theirs is theirs. And that's my way of having that separation. And so I can go home in peace and not have to deal with this type of thing again.
I'm a scaredy cat. I like to understand and learn, and I like the technology and all the tools that are used, but I'm a scaredy cat, and they would know it too. I would be afraid. I'd be the one running down the street, half clothed, middle of the night, getting spooked out.
You know why I don't watch scary movies?
Why?
Because they scare the shit out of me. I can handle paranormal things just fine. Throw me in front of a scary movie? Hell no. I'm out the door.
So that is an example and one of our first stories around one of Courtney's investigations. There are many more and many more stories. I think I even am part of maybe a few. You've been doing this for a long time, and I'm newer to this, but there's a lot more stories. So what you're going to find with these episodes is we're going to try to sprinkle and have episodes with stories, and then we're going to have episodes where we talk about, you know, the technology it's used, because everyone wants to know about things like spirit boxes and EMF meters and all that stuff, and recordings and all that. So we are going to cover that. I think that when you told me this story originally, the thought of something following me. First of all, I couldn't spend the night somewhere like that. Wouldn't. I'd be in the car. I'm like, I'll sleep in the car. Come get me in the morning. But then I'd want you to have your phone on so I could see. I'd have you FaceTime me in there. But this is part of investigations. Mm-hmm. This is part of understanding and learning how to communicate with things that maybe aren't in the living world. Yeah. And sometimes you run into sad situations like children's souls. Other times it's, you know, someone who stays and lives there and just wants to have a conversation. And other times it's growls. Yeah.
I have to say, though, the growl stuff, that doesn't happen a lot.
No, I hope not.
It really doesn't. I haven't had that happen frequently. I've had it happen other times with different entities, but it's not something that frequently happens.
Well, that was a good one. That was early on, and I'm sure you learned a lot from that.
I learned so much.
So
I also learned to not just go in and do things without thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not something you want to mess around with without setting intentions and making sure that you're inviting the right kind of energy into the space.
Yes.
Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about in the next episode, on episode 4. We're going to be going over the different tools and technology that are used, when to use what happens when you have too many things going at once. And we'll talk a little bit about how effective they all are. Some require more energy than others. Some, I think, are questionable, that it's clear what's coming through. We'll talk about that. But in the meantime, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Just look us up, Spirits and Cousins. We're also on Facebook, Spirits and Cousins. And you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. Follow us, support us. We're going to continue to share stories, investigations, and we're going to have some really cool guests over the next few months to talk about their experiences.
Yes. I'm excited to talk about Point Pinos.
Point Pinos is a little teaser. Actually, Courtney will tease it more. But that's here in the central coast of California. We're here in Monterey, Pacific Grove, Pebble Beach area. And we did go to Point Pinos Lighthouse. And that was a really positive, fun experience.
It was so neat.
So you're going to have to wait and hear about that one. But in the meantime, I'm Tish.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're Spirits and Cousins. Thanks for listening.